38 years old. 6 minutes into the second half of his career, a missed penalty still ringing in his ears, and then history, one shot, one moment, one number that nobody in football thought they would ever see written next to a single human being's name. 18. Let's go back to the beginning of the story because this is not just a story about a goal. This is a story about a man who was written off more times than anyone can count, who almost did not even come to this tournament, who missed a penalty in the same match where he made history, and who somehow, at an age when most footballers are retired and watching from their sofas, just became the greatest World Cup scorer of all time. Monday, June 22nd, 2026, Dallas Stadium, Arlington, Texas, Argentina against Austria. Group J, the crowd inside AT&T Stadium was enormous, loud, and fully aware that they might be watching something historic today. Because going into this match, Lionel Messi stood on 16 World Cup goals, level with Germany's Miroslav Klose, a record that had stood for 12 years. One goal. That was all he needed. One goal to stand alone at the top of football's most sacred list. He missed a penalty in the 9th minute. Just sit with that for a second. The most important match of his record-chasing career, the entire football world watching. And Messi, the man with 122 international goals, the man who has won 8 Ballon d'Ors, the man who lifted the World Cup 4 years ago, stuttered in his run-up and put the spot kick wide of the bottom right corner. Deathly silence inside Dallas Stadium, and here is the part that tells you everything about who Lionel Messi actually is. He did not shrink, he did not hide, he did not stop moving, stop demanding the ball, stop believing, because that is what separates him from almost every other player who has ever lived. Not just the talent, but the refusal to disappear when the moment pushes back. 38 minutes into the match, Messi found space on the edge of Austria's penalty box. His teammate Thiago Almada played a perfect dummy, and with his left foot, always that left foot, Messi stroked the ball first time into the bottom left corner of the net. 17, record broken. Klose's 12-year mark gone. The stadium erupted. His teammates surrounded him, and somewhere in those seconds of chaos and noise, you could see something on Messi's face that was not quite joy, not quite relief. Something deeper than both of those things. Something that looked like a man who has been carrying an enormous weight for a very long time, and finally, for one moment, putting it down. But here is where it gets stranger, because the story did not end there. Argentina were leading 1-0. Austria were fighting. The game was tense and difficult, and not the comfortable afternoon everyone had imagined for a historic occasion. Austria attacked relentlessly. Argentina's goalkeeper Emiliano Martinez made save after save, and the clock kept ticking toward full time. Then deep into stoppage time, not the 38th minute this time, but the very last seconds of the match, Messi pushed through Austria's backline inside the penalty box, had his initial shot blocked, and then, without hesitating, slotted home the rebound. 18. In a single afternoon, Messi had not just broken Miroslav Klose's men's record, he had surpassed Brazilian legend Marta's overall record of 17 goals at the Women's World Cup. He now stands alone, not just as the greatest male World Cup scorer in history, but as the greatest World Cup scorer in the history of the sport, men and women combined. No one has ever scored more goals at a World Cup than Lionel Messi. Argentina won 2-0, and that result somehow felt almost secondary to what the afternoon had produced. If this is the kind of World Cup coverage you have been looking for, the full story, not just the highlights, subscribe right now. Because what Messi is doing at this tournament is something that football may never see again, and we are covering every single moment of it. Now, here is the context that makes this even more remarkable, because this almost did not happen. Messi had not committed to playing this World Cup until very late. At 38 years old, with a hamstring issue in the build-up, there were genuine questions about whether he would be fit enough, motivated enough, physically capable enough to compete at this level. His father is currently going through a health situation. There were personal pressures on top of the physical ones, and yet he came. This is his sixth World Cup. He has played in every edition since 2006. He has scored in five of them. The only tournament he went without a goal was 2010, and he still reached the quarterfinals. He holds the record for most World Cup appearances with 28 matches now. He is Argentina's all time leading scorer with 122 goals. And now, at 38 years and 364 days old, he turns 39 in a matter of hours after this match. He is the all time leading World Cup scorer in the history of the tournament. Think about the scale of that number: 18 goals across 6 World Cups. Klose scored his 16 across 4. Messi has kept going. He has kept finding ways to score at tournaments where the pressure is at its absolute maximum, where the defenses are at their most organized, where one mistake can end everything. And he is not finished yet. Here is where the story opens into something even bigger. Because Kylian Mbappe, playing for France on the same evening against Iraq, scored twice himself. He now has 16 career World Cup goals, level with where Messi was this morning. He is 27 years old. He has at minimum two, probably three more World Cups ahead of him. The race that Messi started today, the race to be the all time leading World Cup scorer, may not be over for long. Now, here is what both sides of that conversation look like. The people who say Messi's record is untouchable will tell you this: 18 goals across 28 appearances at 6 different tournaments spanning 20 years of international football. That kind of consistency at the highest level is almost impossible to replicate. Mbappe is brilliant. Messi was brilliant every single time across an entire era of the sport. And honestly, they're not wrong, but the people who back Mbappe will point to the math. 16 goals at 27, at least 8 more years of World Cup football ahead of him, barring injury. If he scores 3 goals at each of the next 2 tournaments, he is already past Messi's current total, and the Frenchman scored 2 tonight, showing absolutely no sign of slowing down. And honestly, they're not wrong either. What we know for certain is this: today, June 22nd, 2026, at Dallas Stadium in Arlington, Texas, Lionel Messi, a man who almost did not come to this tournament, who missed a penalty in the same match, whose father is unwell, who is 2 days away from turning 39 years old, scored 2 goals against Austria and put his name at the very top of football's most prestigious scoring list, alone, untouched, the greatest. His midfielder Alexis McAllister said it perfectly afterward. If anyone thought this group was better off without Leo, today it became clear that Leo is the most important of them all. So here is the question: is what Messi is doing at 38 the single greatest individual performance in the history of this sport? Not the greatest career back. We already know the answer to that. But this specific moment, this specific tournament, a man at an age when the sport has long since forgotten most footballers, producing this here now? Or is the greatest part of the story still to come? Because Argentina have not won the World Cup yet. And if Messi lifts that trophy again at 39, what do you even call that? You tell me. Drop your answer below. I'll see you in the next one.